This is Abnormal Entertainment.
2, 3, 4. Walked into the tunnel just to find the light. Hunted for old demons, looking for a fight. Looked up at the stars, seemed to go forever. There must be a way, it all fits together. Fell into the quicksand, held on to the vines. Never could quite color, stay within the lines. Feels like I have wings, I can fly wherever. This is just a way, it all fits together. Finally saw the world through rose-colored glasses. Gonna share my journey to small and large masses. Give up on my life, no sir, me never. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together.
Hey everybody, this is Daniel Garza. Welcome to another episode of Put It Together. I'd like to start as usual thanking my producer, Mr. Kevin Moyers, for all his help and support. Thank you, sir. Inviting everybody to check us out at abnormalentertainment.com, where you can find all the shows on the network. I'm sure there's a show there for you. Go check it out. Today, we are celebrating. I should go get my no beer out of the fridge and celebrate with that.
You should.
But today we're celebrating 200 episodes. It would have been more, but damn you, cancer, damn you.
Yeah, you'd be at 250-ish right now.
Yeah, right about now if I was consistent and more productive and more professional. But in honor,
your butthole was an asshole.
You know, I always have to stick my ass in where it doesn't belong. At least I wasn't the butt of every joke. Thank you, folks. Thank you, folks.
That one was a little corny.
Okay, I'll put that one behind me. In honor
of that shit.
In honor of 200, cut your crap, Moyers.
Yes.
In honor of 200 episodes, Mr. Kevin Moyers is doing me the honor of joining me on the show. You were here for 100.
Yes.
Along with Mr. Harston.
Yes.
And may he rest in peace, and we remember him always. And so I got left behind with you.
Well, I mean, if he joins us somehow, here's the best you can get. He does hang around my desk, so there you go.
Awesome. And there's always something in my home that reminds me of him, somewhat.
Yeah. Well, in spirit, he's joining us, I'm sure. So. But
welcome, sir.
Yes, thank you for having me for 200.
I know it's. We've been wanting to do a follow-up to the 100 forever, and it just never worked out. But I guess it didn't work out because it was supposed to be today. Anyway, I know I was trying to get a little sentimental or whatever, but then thinking about Mr. Harston would get me too far, so I'll save it for later. How have you been?
I'm good. I think at the last time I was on actually was it wasn't for 100. It was last year on my birthday. I've been on the show around my birthday every year.
That's right.
Some reason it's always landed around there, and we're a couple months past that now. But I mean that's fine because I was on vacation. You've been traveling all over the place, and it just works out for 200. So that's pretty good.
But a lot has happened since last we spoke.
Yes.
Which oddly enough, for those of you watching and or listening, we really don't talk. We pretty much just message each other. We're like teenage schoolgirls. We just message each other. We don't talk.
Pretty much. That's how most of my conversations happen these days. And, it's just the technology we deal with. And it is easy to have a conversation that way. You don't have to make time. You can have a couple messages, get back to it a few hours later, the next day, whatever.
But your career has been expanding a little bit.
Yes. So a little less than a year ago, I was supposed to cover a table at Phoenix Comic Con for this company that I was publishing with. I won't even say their name because it doesn't matter right now. So we had it all set up. They're out of Michigan. That's where Dave Hayes lives, and he got connected with them through that. And we had he had a book that I helped him write. He got connected with them, and then we did a couple other things I helped him with, and he got those published. And I have this book, Scorn. It was the first comic book I wrote. It was 4 issues that became one graphic novel. And he said, put Scorn out through them, put Scorn out through them. And I had already dealt with other small publishers, and it was always a nightmare. I'd done it on my own, and that was difficult. I got it way in over my head. And they had sent me a contract I let sit for months because I didn't want to do it. And I finally just said, fine, who cares? I don't care about this anymore. And as expected, they did pretty much nothing with it. So as they were expanding a little bit, doing more shows, they wanted to go west. And I said, all right, I'll do Phoenix if you get a table here. And a friend of theirs was coming. He got the table. I was going to share the table. I let him stay here the whole 9 yards. And he's coming back this year, and he's staying here again because I like the guy. And he's on his own. He's not directly connected with them. And he was also encouraging when this stuff happened. But they sent me books, and I said, cool, 2 of the boxes got here. I guess the third one has all the Scorn copies in it. And the guy's like, oh, I didn't send any of those. And I was like, wait. You didn't send my book for me to sell, the one that you have so much trouble selling at the other cons. You finally have the guy who created it. Oh, well, we didn't order any. And it turned into this whole back and forth. And I was pissed at him legitimately. And he just said, well, I don't think we should work together. And he took like that. Within 10 minutes, everything was off of his website. Everything. I was fine with it because I didn't want to work with him anymore either. And I was cracking up. And this is a week before Phoenix Comic Con. So
whoa.
I'm like, well, he's like, well, are you still going to cover the table? I went, no. No. I'll send you your shit back. This dude can have the table himself. Well, can he still stay? I'm like, yeah, of course he can. He has nothing to do with this. And again, it turns out like I made a friend out of that. He's a good guy. He texted me about a month ago, and he's like, hey, are you going to be around? I said, if you need a place to stay, you got a place to stay. Don't worry. You're covered. And he's like, cool. So, and I even kept like his banner. He didn't want to keep it because it was kind of simple. I was like, I'll hang on to it. I got a place to store it for next year if you come back and stuff. So I still have all this shit here, and as promised, and so it's fine. But maybe a couple weeks after that, I was pacing around my living room, and I was mad about the whole thing. I'm like, I have to do this on my own. It's the only way. And thankfully, like I looked at my daughter and I said, if you had your own comic book label or your own publishing label, what would you call it? And she spit out like she'd been thinking about it for a year, Bunny 17. And as soon as she said it, the image of the logo popped into my head. It was so perfect. The ears make the number 17. It was like, it was instant. And I said, oh my God, I got it. That's it. And it was a name she'd been using on like Minecraft or some game. And it works out for, a few reasons. In 2017 we started, so they got the 17 in there. I'll never forget when we started.
Right.
Stuff like that. And we just started rolling. And she and I were already writing a book together. We're almost done with it, getting close, which I was going to try to see if the other publisher would want. And I was like, well, fuck you guys now. I'm not doing anything with you. And so we had that. Of course, I had Scorn back from them. And then I had all this other stuff that I had done, a couple different blogs I put together, put them together as books. and just started working on more and more stuff. So by the time we got to November, it was in May, and I was talking to the friend that's coming out here, and I said, Tucson Comic-Con's in November. I could be ready by then. And he's like, do it. And I booked a table, we had like 9 or 10 titles total sitting on that table. And I really sat there and looked at it and went, holy shit, I have done a lot. And that's not even everything. Because there's still stuff that, Dave and I worked on together. It's still with that other publisher. I'm like, I'm really looking at all this stuff like, I cannot believe I've done this much. And it fueled me. We had a great weekend there. We did well. We came out, I think we broke even, which for a first trip, good. Because I was still getting my sea legs back a little bit selling and getting used to that again. And I caught right back up to it. It wasn't hard, like figuring out pitches for each book, stuff like that. And then we took a couple months and then hit a few conventions this year already. And the last one, I was in El Paso, and I sold every single book I had.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and Casey, my daughter, she didn't go with me. I was by myself. And I said, how many books should I sell? And we were joking around. She's like, sell all of them. It's like, yeah, I'll sell them all. But we came up with like 50 is a good number. And I thought for a small place, that seems reasonable. And I got to that third day. I sold 49 books on Saturday alone.
Wow.
Plus I sold 2 of her art prints. And she's a 9-year-old artist and sells prints at conventions. I mean, she's already doing that. But I sold 2 of her prints and 49 books on Saturday alone. I'm like, holy shit, I can sell every single book. And I went in with that mentality Sunday and I down to my last book and sold it 3 hours before the convention ended and took off. I left. If I had more books with me, I would have sold maybe 20 more.
Wow.
So I couldn't believe it. So it just showed me I have something viable here with every single title. And I'm working on this superhero novel right now. I'm working on some other things. And it's just like, it's full speed ahead with this. So it's good. It's been really good. And I'm really happy with it.
So tell us a little bit about the books.
There's a pretty good variety. I have Score in the graphic novel I talked about. We also have another comic book called Blasto the Clown, which came from this crazy situation involving Dave and Jeff Dolniak, who does Cinema Head Cheese. And I got Dalen Vieker, who, if you listen to Masterpiece Theater, he is the masked blogster. He'll deny it all day long, but he did the artwork for it. And it's such a silly story about a farting clown superhero that we decided to make it a coloring book as well. So you can read the story and color the pages, and we give crayons away with it when you buy it at the convention. So we got that. And then Dalen and another friend, Kalani Nazaro, who used to be on Masterpiece all the time when he still lived out here, they did a comic book together. So we have that, and I published that for them. And then we have Kevin Hates Everything, which used to be a podcast on this network. But the original 56 that I did before I took a break from it, I also did as a blog. So I put those all together, added a few more chapters to it, did some little crazy stickman characters throughout the book, which is same as the cover, and put that together as a book. Also did one called Secondhand Boogers, which was like a parenting blog that I used to do, and I put all those together. And those are just parenting stories and silly observations about different kids stuff. I have a book called, and I did it under a pseudonym just to kind of be funny, but it's called How to Quit Being an Asshole in 5 Easy Steps. So that one sells a lot on Amazon, and it gets attention. The cover gets attention on tables at conventions, so that's good. And people just walk over. It's a little thin book, but it's fun. And the last that I can think of right now is Search for the Book of the Guardians. That's the book I wrote with Casey. And it's a 19-year-old girl and a jackalope who are pretty much Indiana Jones types. And they go protecting all of the world's treasures from the Jersey Devil. And they have Chupacabra is their tech guy. He's like Q from James Bond. Why not?
Well, of course.
Yeah. The Loch Ness Monster is their boss. There's the Yeti. Two Bigfoot brothers are mentioned in the book. We named them after my brother and brother-in-law. So my niece thought that was hilarious. But they're the focus of the second book. So Jack the Jackalope. We named him Jack Lopez because, I mean, how simple could that be? And then the girl is Casey, and that's because it started as a bedtime story. So
I was about to ask, how did that story come about?
I had Jack. I had that character in my head for about 2 years. I don't know where I came up with it, but I wanted a jackalope who was like Indiana Jones. And I had the name Jack Lopez, again, very, very simple to pull that out of jackalope. And I was like, well, jackalopes are from the Southwest, why not? But that's all I had. I just had that character. And I'd written 2 paragraphs at one point, maybe a couple months before Casey and I started putting it together. And I was stuck. I really had nothing. And I had been looking at it again, trying to figure out what to do with it, because I really liked the character idea. And then one day she's like, Dad, tell me a bedtime story. Make something up. You know, her stalling to go to sleep. So I just started rolling with those 2 paragraphs, and I changed it was a 19-year-old boy, and I changed it to a girl named Casey because I'm telling her the story. And then she's like, oh, what if this happened? And I was like, that's a good idea. And then we played off of that. And the next day we're telling more of the story. She's like, how about this? How about this? And she's throwing in ideas left and right, and I'm building off of that. And there's 7 chapters in the book. The 6th chapter is really like the ultimate, like the end of the story, kind of, and there's a little bit in the 7th, but she pretty well wrote that whole chapter. I got like a marker board, and I said, all right, let's make notes for this chapter. We got this scene. And she's like, I got it, and just started writing the whole thing. Wow. And I was, holy shit, okay. And I'm just standing there marveling at this. I took a picture of it and everything. I still have the board. I haven't erased it yet. And that's about a little less than a year ago. It's still sitting here.
So now, for the folks that really don't know your personal story, you share custody of your daughter, correct?
Right. Yeah.
And she is now 8?
9.
9.
Yeah.
So, as a dad, first of all, as a dad, being able to work with your daughter on something like that, what does that mean to you? I'm
pretty sure I cried a little bit when I watched her write that chapter. Just like she's been painting since she was 4, and Christmas or birthdays, the relatives that are a little further away, like my uncle in Vegas, every year it's like Michael's gift card because she wants to go there and buy more canvases, more paint, whatever. You know, she's made him 2 paintings. You know, she likes to make paintings for people and stuff, but she likes just creating art, always drawing, always doing that. It's just in her. When I said we should write this down for that story, I was like, I've been working on this character and don't know what to do. We should write it all down. She's like, let's do it. Let's write a book together. And then she said, well, I want to do all the drawings inside. So she did all the illustrations. She did the cover. And when we actually got the books, like the box showed up when I ordered a bunch of them printed, and she was like tearing the box open. It was this crazy moment. I'm like, and I stopped. I said, remember this. This is going to be important to you in the future. You're going to look back at this moment. Trust me. And she tore open, had the book and everything. She's excited about it. She shares it with people, stuff like that. So, it just, the fact that we have this together, is really amazing to me. And the company is ours. It's hers and mine together. So it's, and we've had discussions about that. Like, I figured out what her part of selling the books would have been in Tucson in that first convention. And I said, well, you can have this little $80 or whatever it was, or you can put that toward what we're doing next. Do you want $80 or do you want to own a company like this? What do you want to do? This is totally up to you. And she's like, let's go with the company. Wow. I was like, all right, good choice. So she's in it. I mean, that's it.
I've met a lot of kids whose parents are not together. Mm-hmm. And let's face it, a lot of them are messy. They just get messy. Yeah. And that's a kind way to put the word. What have you done differently that makes this so nice, that makes it so right?
I think one thing that helps me is that I have management experience. So I've had to deal with all kinds of different personalities. I've had to motivate people. I've had to make people feel comfortable. I remember one place I worked. It's like an auto rental place. And they moved me to this one office that was on the bottom for sales and asked what I could do there. And there was one guy who was so nervous all the time. I mean, like a little shaky chihuahua like that. And I don't mean that to be, like disrespectful to him, but physically he was shaky all the time. And where I felt bad for him. And I was able to take that guy and build his confidence up. And then some other people that didn't have that. And we ended up being the top sales thing, top store in sales. And it was just being able to figure out their personalities enough to get the best out of them. So with my daughter, I have that experience. I teach her as much as I can about life in general. I have never talked to her like a baby or I just talk to her like a person all the time. Even when she was a baby, I didn't do baby talk, none of that, talking down to her, anything like that. Even in the book that we wrote together, as I was starting to script it out, I used a word in the first chapter that she didn't know. And I told her what it was. And I said, you know what? I was going to change it. I said, let's leave those words in there and let's put definitions in the back. So she's like, that's a good idea. And then you can learn words. I'm like, yes. So we did that. We went through the book. She picked out the words she didn't know, gave it to my niece. She picked out words she didn't know if I'd missed anything. We put a whole glossary in the back. So, but that's how I deal with kids in general. I just talk to them. If they don't know something, I'll teach them if I know. If I don't know, I will tell them, I don't know. Let's go find out, or let's figure it out. And that's the thing too. I don't lie to her. I don't try to make myself this grand thing. When you were a kid, how did you see your parents or adults? Were they like gods to you in a way? You know what I mean? Like those on Mount Olympus kind of? Or did you see like, oh, these people are actually stupid? A little of both.
Well, considering the fact that my mom only did first grade, mm-hmm. and my dad barely got to sixth grade.
Yeah.
By the time I was in like third grade, I was already in like the advanced classes in grade school.
Right.
They had no clue what to do with me. I'd come home with some project and they're like, we don't know. Wait for your sister. And then my sister would come home and I'd be like, so this is what I have to do. And she'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Figure it out. And I'm like, okay. In fact, I was still in the sixth grade and my dad's punishment for me mm-hmm. was I would get in trouble and I'd have to wait for him and we would do the timetables.
Yeah.
He would start with 1 times 1 all the way to 12 times 12. And if somewhere down the middle I messed up, I had to start all over again.
Oh God.
So that was my punishment. And he always did it at 7:00 when TV was like prime time was starting.
Yeah.
So I had to do it like before the show started, or I would miss half the show. Yeah. So I did not have that type of upbringing. They talked to me like I was an idiot, and then I'd be like, yeah, but you didn't go past 6th grade, like whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's pretty cool because I think a lot of parents do kind of, I'm not going to say mess up, but they don't give their kids the credit that they deserve. And I mean, God bless millennials, but how many millennials out there have no clue what life is?
Well, I defend millennials a lot because I think the problem is that our generation and the baby boomers before us who, did have a lot of millennials, they, got remarried, had more kids later in life and stuff like that. So we're the two generations that raised them. We created participation trophies. Actually, I'll give that one to the boomers because we had those when I was a kid. So the boomers created participation trophies and now they're bitching about it. Like, no, you did that. And when Generation X especially starts dumping on millennials, I go, hold the fucking phone here, because it should be us, the two of us ganging up on the baby boomers who really destroyed everything while we were kids. And now we're going to put it on the millennials. It's not their fault. And if they don't know, it's because they weren't taught by their parents. A lot of really basic stuff. Yeah. So I defend millennials all the time.
I don't particularly dog on them because it is what you're taught. I mean, I was taught very early. Well, actually, I always tell people I was a brown noser. I kissed ass to get what I wanted, and I still do it. I'm 47 years old, and I will still kiss somebody's ass to get what I want.
Yeah,
I'm not dumb.
Right. When it works, it works.
Hey, it got me here. But hold on while I cry for a minute.
You had to kiss Cam's ass a little bit.
I did. We'll go into that story in a minute. I always like telling that story. But I was like 7, 8 years old, and I learned how to sweep, how to mop, how to make beds. I made the worst food, but I would cook anyway.
Yeah.
And that was all in an effort. So when my parents got home, they were like, oh my God, look at everything you did. Here's extra allowance. Like, yay, look at me. And mostly because I was a chubber and I wanted cake after at school. I wanted to be the kid that bought cake because nobody else could afford it. And then I would share it with the bullies so they wouldn't mess with me. Yeah, I wasn't stupid. Yeah. And, but you're right. Like I see like the younger generation and I'm like, oh my God. But then you do have to think about it. It's like you only know as much as you're taught. Anyway,
well, they are putting together, and people want to laugh at it. I don't like the word adulting because it's sort of annoying, but they are grouping together and putting these like adulting classes together. Like shit your parents. It should be called shit your parents should have taught you.
Yeah. That's
what they should call it, flat out. But they are trying to remedy these shortcomings, and I don't know. It's just I see a lot of good in that generation. Like Dave does post a lot on Facebook. Dave Hayes, because he's also a teacher, and he teaches a lot of online college classes, and some of the responses he gets are ridiculous. But I took some online classes and some classes later in life where there were people older than me who gave equally ridiculous answers, things like that. I'm like, dummies are just dummies. That's all there is to it, no matter what.
Only goes to prove that our generation is the best one.
Probably.
I mean, if we're eliminating by elimination,
yeah,
we have to deduct that we were the best. So
there are only like 10 left of the greatest generation. So we have to skip them.
So suck it, the rest of you. We're the best. But how, there's a question that I've always wanted to ask you. How did you get into podcasting, and where did Abnormal Entertainment come from?
Well, I was always a talk radio fan growing up. We had people in Chicago like Jonathan Brandmeier and Kevin Matthews and Danny Bonaducci. There was Stephen Gary. If you remember, like, there's always that infamous disco demolition night at Comiskey Park they show where people burn all their disco records. That was two Chicago DJs, Stephen Gary. But I listened to people like that, and I, got into the humor of it and the silliness, and Howard Stern came along through Chicago, and he was syndicated through. I started listening to him. So I really got into that. In trying to think of the year, maybe 2005, I think. There was a small radio station here. I'd been doing stand-up comedy a little bit. It was a really low-power station, and they had somebody that had a show, one of the other comedians, and she asked me to come on it. And I was like, I like this. And her roommate, who was also a comic, was going to start a show, and she wanted a partner. And I'm like, I'll do it if, because we're on really well. And she's like, all right, cool. And we did the show Friday afternoons for a little while. It was just a couple hours. And I'm trying to think if it was maybe less than a year. And then she ended up, she was going to get married and move to Florida because her husband trains Navy SEALs. So, yeah. So, the two of them, she moved to Florida to be with him. And so they let me keep the show, and I brought Dave on, but they were moving us to, and we asked to be moved later because they had a spot open at 10 p.m. on Friday. So, and you can say a little bit more after whatever, Safe Harbor, I think it's called, something like that, after 10 p.m. So we got away with a little bit more. And we did that for maybe 6 months and then bailed on it because it just wasn't doing anything for us. And once, I still listened to a lot of talk radio. There was a station that flipped that had Adam Carolla in the mornings and stuff like that after Stern moved to satellite. And they flipped that station and he started podcasting. I was like, well, I need stuff to listen to. I was already downloading their shows and listening. And then I really started getting into listening to podcasts. I thought, this is cool. That's something different. And it's like, I can do this and have my own radio show again. So I started doing Kevin Hates Everything. And they were short. I'd write up a blog. I'd read it into the microphone and then post it as a podcast as well. So I had some people reading, some people listening. And those blogs are what became the Kevin Hates Everything book. But after about a year, I stopped doing that so I could focus on other things. And I was kind of out of steam. I'd done 56 of them. I'd done one a week for a year. So I put that aside, started working on other stuff, built up the Cinema Head Cheese site, stuff like that. And then not long after that, Dave was going to move back to Michigan to his sister had passed, and he was going to help raise his niece, he and his wife, and which is where they are now. And the whole thing with Kevin Smith's podcast, he and Scott Mosier, they used to work together and they made Clerks and all those movies, but they created the podcast so they could stay in touch with each other. So they have an excuse to have once a week, have an hour to talk to each other. And I said to Dave, let's do that. Let's do a podcast. I'd already started doing one a month for Cinema Head Cheese because we were getting to interview people. And I was like, let's put this up somewhere as a podcast and stuff. And he and Jeff were not convinced, but I'm like, I'm just going to fucking do it. So I was doing it anyway for that. And then we decided to, like, all right, Dave and I will do a show. And then Cam's like, I want to do a show. So he and I started doing a show. And he's like, I know this guy. And that was Matt, who you came through. And then you showed up. And then we had Brown and Sean, who did the BS Carnival. And just like all this stuff started piling up. And Abnormal Entertainment is a name that Dave came up with like back in college when he made his first couple short films. So, and it's what we had used for a bunch of stuff. And so there it was. It was just perfect.
Yeah, because what was it called? What was Brown and
The
Sullivan?
BS Carnival.
The BS Carnival. We
Yeah.
came in about the same time, didn't we?
Yeah, probably either the same week or within a week. You might have been the same week.
Somewhere along there we came on.
Yeah.
Hello to them out there if they're listening. Mr. Brown just had another baby, so
Yes, he did.
congratulations out there.
Yeah.
And Matt Grenier is the one that brought me in. I did a couple of spots on his show,
Yeah.
and then just like I always do, I kissed a little ass and haha. But my favorite story is that Mr. Harston thought that I wasn't good for Abnormal Entertainment. I was too soft.
Yes.
Please tell the story, because it would sound like I'm bragging if I say it.
Well, he thought the subject matter didn't fit. And I did forget one show at the time. We had the Atomic Fallout Society, which was the Tony and David Sabal, two brothers who we've known for years. They're big comic fans. So they did a comic book show. So I think with all the comedy movies, comic books, stuff like that we had, I think Cam was thinking it's too serious, like what you were going to get into. I was like, so what? It's a network. Like, ABC doesn't just have comedies, just have dramas. It's not all Shonda Rhimes. Let's, let's get, mostly Shonda Rhimes, but let's, diversify it a little bit. Let's mix it up, get different things on here. And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, well, I'm just going to tell him to do it. And then did your first one, and we both listened to it, and he's like, all right, it's good. Yeah, I was right. We should do this.
Well, for everybody out there listening or watching, it's not on YouTube. The first episode is not on YouTube, but you can go to Abnormal Entertainment and look for my page, put it together, and you'll find my pilot episode, which was not meant for airing, actually aired as my first episode.
Yeah.
And it was full of drugs and sex and sexuality, and it was dirty. But yeah, considering that, for those of you who are faithful listeners, you'll remember I was on Matt's show at the end of 2011, coming into 12.
Yeah.
And I'd done a couple of little spiritual spots on his show for Christmas and New Year's. So I was very new age and guru. That was a little above Mr. Harston's understanding. But, and then I did my first episode, and I talked about drugs and drinking and, sex and, all kinds of sicknesses, and that's what got him. So I was like,
yeah. He's like,
those stories are true. I still tell them to this day.
I know. And you love to give him shit about it too. And he's like, all right.
Every time I saw him, I was like, remember how you didn't want me? Especially after 100 episodes. Oh no, especially, I think the first time I brought it up to his attention was when I made it on the top 10 on iTunes. And then on Stitcher, I think I made it as a fast climbing number.
Yeah,
or whatever.
we were in on the early days of Stitcher when they used to actually pay us a little bit every month. Now they're like, oh, you gotta have 10 million. Like, whatever, just leave the shows on there. I don't care.
But honestly, we've come a long way. There's YouTube and iTunes, and people know it, and I've actually gone places where people recognize my voice. Of course, for those of you listening now, my voice is a little scratchier. I was at a conference this weekend. I talked a lot. But even at the conference this weekend, it was a conference of 122 advocates from around the world. And some people recognized me just by my voice.
Nice.
They had heard, it was the first time for them to be at this conference. And when they sent out this email, it had the list of everybody who's going to be at the conference.
Yeah.
And put it together was on my bio. So they went to go listen, and they would hear me talk across the room, and they come up to me and goes, you're Daniel Garza. And first I was like, are you INS?
Yeah.
If your eyes, no, I am not. And then it would be like, do I owe you money? If they were women. And if they were guys, I'm like, did we sleep together? And, but yeah, a couple of people were like, after this, before this, I downloaded your podcast. I've been listening to you. I'm like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
That's cool.
So I guess it's pretty amazing that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice when you get like little fan email or stuff like that. The first person that was actually recognized off of one of these podcasts was David Sabal for Atomic Fallout Society.
Really?
And yeah, they were a couple months in, and he was at Tucson Comic-Con, which is like hour and a half drive from Phoenix for people that don't know. And he was talking to somebody at a table, and somebody comes up, he goes, excuse me, this is weird, but are you David Sabal from the Atomic Fallout Society? And he was like, what? Yes. And he's like, I like your show. And he's like, thank you. And then he sent me messages like, I can't believe this just happened. But it was cool.
It feels pretty good when like you go up to, or when I email people or, whore myself a little bit. It's like, will you come on my show?
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh yeah, like so-and-so was on your show. And I'm like, yeah? They're like, yeah, they know you. I'm like, they do? I'm like, oh, okay. And then I have to go back because I know it sounds really conceited, but after 100 and something episodes, almost 200, well now 200, I forget that people are on my show. There's a guy at the conference and I met him for the first time last year. I had him, because for those of you that don't know, I at one point had 3 shows on the air. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And, cause I'm stupid that way and I think I can do everything.
Yeah, I was the same.
But when I had the HIV show, he was a guest of mine on the HIV show, but then I forgot. And I was at him and I was like, yeah, you're such an asshole. I invited you on my show and you said no. And he's like, I was on your show. And I was like, oh yeah. I'm like, and then I was like, I meant the other show, not that show. Silly. But no, it's kind of it's kind of cool to do this because people really don't see your face. Luckily, I think both of us have pretty distinguished voices that people can hear us and go, wait a minute, where do I know you from? And I'm like, 1-900 call a fag. I don't know.
I only did that for one summer.
Hey, $20 is $20.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, oddly enough, we're at the 45-minute mark.
Oh, okay.
So typical.
Well, it's your show. As I always say, there are no rules, so we can do as long as you want or whatever you want.
Tradition on my show is at a 45-minute mark, my guests will give some words of wisdom to my listeners. So, Mr. Kevin Moyers, what words of wisdom do you have for people listening?
I will tell people what I always tell you, which is
shut up and go to bed.
Well, there are no rules. Basically, how many times have you been like, is it okay if I do this on my show? And I'm like, the last time you asked me, and then you haven't since, I said, no, it's not okay. It's my show now, and I'm taking it over. But I always say there are no rules. And it's like doing what I'm doing now. The last couple of years have been pretty rough for me personally. And I can go into it a little bit. I had a very rough, very short marriage, which I don't talk about a lot, but I went through domestic abuse, really. Nothing physical, but the psychological abuse was pretty rough, and I didn't realize what was happening until it was almost over. So I ended that. The abuse kind of continued. And thankfully, I have so many wonderful friends that helped me through it, you included, and protected me in a lot of ways, including some of her friends that said, no, this is wrong, and we've known you now, and we know this something is wrong here, and which was great. You don't often get that. So after dealing with all of that, it was like, what do I do now? My life is different for this. And then, the stuff happened with this publisher. It was all kind of at the same time, divorce finalized and the publisher thing. And I'm like, I need to do what I want to do. I need to do what is important to me. And this is it. I mean, writing the books, and I still enjoy podcasting. I'm a little fatigued from it. I ended Raise Your Spirits last year. I went on for a while without Cam. It wasn't the same, and I just put it to bed finally. I still do Cinema Head Cheese reviews when I can, but it's not top priority for me. But the writing has just been pouring out of me, and it's taking the time. I've met people at conventions now, the handful I've done, and I've heard at every convention, I've heard at least once, I always wanted to write a book, or I like to write. So it's like, then do it. Do it. There was a guy, he bought a copy of Kevin Hates Everything, and sometimes I'll draw like a little personalized stick man in there. And I drew one with a giant pencil, and I just wrote in big block letters, write your book. And he saw it, and he smiled, and I handed it to him. I'm like, I'm not kidding. If I see you next year, I want to hear about your progress. I had a little girl in El Paso, same thing. She bought the kid's book, and her mom came back later. She wants to take a picture with you, and it's on her phone died right as she was about to take the picture. So I said, if it's okay to post it on Instagram and stuff, I'll take it, and you can pull it from there. And so it's on all the social media stuff for Bunny 17 Media. But the girl wants to write, and I said, okay, I'm coming back here next year. I'd already pre-purchased my table, and I said, I want to see what you're doing. Come back and bring it to me. And I said, even if you want to email me, the email's on the site, email me what you're doing. I want to see it. I want to know. Just like you have to do it. And I'm pushing people. Don't tell me you want to do it, because if you want to do it, you will do it. Find the time. Stop. Sorry, you're going to miss the next season of Jessica Jones or whatever for a while. You're going to see it a month later than everybody else while you're working on your shit. It's what has to be done. You have to get to it. You have to do it. I'm 42, and and I've been working on this shit since I was 26, and I'm finally at a point where I'm actually really almost forcefully doing it, making myself do it. And it's the best thing I could have ever done for myself. Going through all the abusive shit that I went through, I had nightmares a lot. I mean, I don't dream, let alone, I remember 2 or 3 times a year if I remember a dream. I almost never have nightmares, one every few years. But I was having frequent nightmares about the situation. Couldn't, sleep at all. It was terrible. I dove into this, the thing I love to do. I haven't had a nightmare in a few months now. It put all that bad stuff aside and got it out of the way. Like I'm doing what I should be doing. All that's gone now. It's behind me. Listen, it still pops up from time to time. I don't know that will ever go away. Hopefully it does. But just doing this is really the greatest thing I could have done for myself. When you're actually trying to live your dream, I'm not even selling all the books I did in El Paso. I'm coming home going, okay, well, I'm still in spending stuff for getting things set up and stuff like that. I'm hoping by the end of the year I'm a little bit profitable. But nice. I know I'm doing what I want to do, and I'm willing to take the time. I don't sit dwelling on hating my day job anymore. I'm like, I go there, I do it, and I get done as fast as I can so I can get to this, so I can do what I want to do. And it's just like, it's a thing, it's a necessity right now to do that so I can do the other stuff. So just, you have to do it. That's all there is, or you're never gonna, and you do it all the time. I don't have to push you because you're doing it. Like Dave Hayes, he has done so much shit. He just put up this banner that he created with everything he's done, books, movies, everything. And all of the images had to be so tiny because there were so many of them. And he's same age as you. He's 47, and like he's in the last even few years, he's done so much. And I've always looked at him and what he does to try to push me, and that helps some people. It doesn't help everybody to have somebody to look at, but if you don't do it, it's never going to happen.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes outside people to remind us that we're not just sitting on our asses. Like when I come home and sit and watch TV, it's kind of like, okay, I've earned this moment of quiet. Like I've earned this. It's between podcast and video interviews that I do in Spanish, my advocacy work, my public speaking, my card readings and energy work, my acting. That pretty much keeps it busy. And there's days when I do 2 or 3 things, different things in one day. And well, that's kind of why my voice is all shut right now. But
and then you have the web series too.
Yeah, and then we do. Oh yeah, that's right. We do our web show, which is on hiatus.
You edit all your own videos.
Yeah.
So there's that on top of it too. And I don't think people really understand all the extra work that goes into this stuff. So
because there's the production side too, when you're trying to get guests and coordinating, and then if you're on somebody else's show for something, they're trying to coordinate you. While you're coordinating somebody else. Just for this conference this weekend, I was on 5 different email threads at once. And it was so stupid because I got to the conference and I go up to this girl and I go, okay, so where am I supposed to go? And I'm showing her the email. She goes, I don't know. I'm like, well, it says right here, like, don't you, like, you sent me this. And she's like, that's not me. I'm like, well, aren't you with this company? And she's like, no, I'm with this other company. I'm like, well, then excuse me. And I walk off. and I'm walking down the vendor's hall and I'm like, who's Julia? Who is Julia? She goes, me. I'm like, well, I've been looking for you for 10 minutes. And she's like, I didn't hear you. I'm like, oh my God. But it was all on me. Like, I crap. But
you get all this stuff going and then it's like, shit, what I do?
Yeah.
Where am I and what am I on right now?
And I definitely every once in a while come to you and be like, okay, I'm just not there. Like,
oh yeah.
I'm just not there. And
no, we have our conversations on the side that I will leave on the side, but when one of the two of us is stressed out a little bit and those happen and you need to have somebody to talk to in those situations, and that's good. And you and I do that. But that's another good thing for people to have.
And I definitely have, my book is like 60% finished. I just need to buckle down and finish it up.
Yeah.
But Dancing with the Stars is so good. It's just, how do you leave the Bachelorette alone? She can't make decisions on her own. That's not possible.
I'm not saying you have to forego, when I say it like, you'll see Jessica Jones later, or whatever it is. I'm not trying to say to people, you can't have that stuff. But instead of, say, 5 hours of TV a night, cut it down to 3. Spend 2 hours doing your thing. And honestly, like, you'll burn out by the end of that 2 hours. If you're writing especially, your head will shut down. Yeah. I've been doing something. Finding a quiet place to work is good too. I've been doing something the last little over a week now. When Dalen's drawing, when you draw comics, they're on big sheets. So he doesn't have enough room on his kitchen table. His wife and daughter are there and the dog and stuff like that. And it's hard to sit and concentrate and have quiet time. So his wife booked him a study room at the library. And he's like, okay, that sounds like an idea. So he goes there, lays all his shit out on the table. He's in a room by himself, and he can just work for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm going to try that. So I started doing that I did it today. I was in, you're supposed to get 2 hours, and I somehow worked it where I got 3. but normally you get 2 hours. But even at the end of 2 hours, I'm like, I got a lot out of me, and now I can sit and I can watch a TV show and feel like I did accomplish something, and I can relax a little bit, watch TV, have dinner, and be good.
Yeah.
So just finding that little time, finding a space, and it's free. It's a free. You don't have to rent it. It's just, and I go there almost every day in the last week. So I'll continue to do that. It's helpful. And even at home by myself, I find distractions. Like, I got to do laundry real quick. I'll throw that in and then nothing gets done, so
Yeah.
it's good to have stuff like that.
I'm a good music background noise worker. Like I need, if it's too quiet, my mind starts going.
Yeah.
And then I just get perverted ideas, and I just, it's fucked by then. Like,
I understand that too, because I have, like, songs will trigger ideas too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Especially when I'm editing. If I'm editing a video, putting titles or whatever.
Yeah.
Watching something or listening to something and listening to what I've recorded.
Yeah.
Will trigger, because if anybody's been following me on YouTube with the new shows that we put in up, every show has a different intro video. Mm-hmm. They all have a different, and so I need to, and then they all had a different song, but actually, as we're running out of time, this show, we didn't mention it, but this show has the grand release, I guess, of my theme song.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Put it together. Finally has a theme song. It's something that I had wanted to do from the very beginning.
Yeah.
6 years ago, and never could quite put it together.
Yeah.
And luckily, again, looking up to somebody, I had the Kalama brothers that came in to do a show with me, and they're singer-songwriters here in Orange County, and they're the ones that kind of motivated me to, like, hey, I can do this. Mm-hmm. And one of the best compliments was when actually Ryan Kalama did the music, mm-hmm. and he's singing with me on the song. When we were done and we recorded here at my house, I told him I don't want it like studio perfect. I want it to sound messed up, because that's how my life has been, and that's how Put It Together came up. It was supposed to be a messed up show.
Right.
When we were done, he was like, have you written songs before? And I was like, no. He's like, well, when you write your next one, I want to sing it. I was like, all right, dude. I'm like, all right. So watch out, Nashville. Here I come. I don't know. Yeah. It couldn't be in Spanish. It had to go be Nashville. But it's really exciting to have people that motivate you and push you, and so this is going to be my mushy moment for you. So I thank you in every episode, mm-hmm. and I'm sure some people think by now it's like, oh my God, every episode, but you guys, when I first started, I was looking for somewhere to tell my story. And that's basically how Put It Together started. It was me sharing my story, all the things that were against me that I somehow managed to turn around and make them work for me. Mm-hmm. And you guys gave me that opportunity. And 6 years later, because of life, you're still here, and you still provide me with inspiration, and you still motivate me. And when I'm having a little panic attack and I just message you at 2 o'clock in the morning, and for some reason, sometimes you manage to answer, you, for the last 6 years, you have been a consistent friend and a mentor and a brother. And I love you for that. And thank you so much. And the thank yous at the beginning and end of the show are not just for the show. I wholeheartedly mean that. I really appreciate everything that you mean in my life. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And I love you too. I mean, I hope you know that. but I'm saying it now. I love you too. I care about you. I care about just what you're doing. And I have listened to episodes. I listen to everything on this network. I've said it before. I always do. And, I've heard things where I go, oh, okay. Different things click in my head with different guests you've had and stuff. So I know you're helping somebody, me at the very least, with the shows. But if I'm connecting to something, I know somebody else is connecting to something else, or the same thing I am, or different things. So, yeah, I'm proud to help you do this. You should definitely be proud of what you've done. Even, when you felt stressed out, you were doing your cancer videos. Like, I think there's always a thing in you to get this stuff out, the same as I'm doing with the books now and stuff like that. So, if it's who you are, you can't stop, and that's a great thing, when you're a creative person. And I mean, for you, it's getting that message out there to help somebody, whether it's, you had a guy recently who was talking about, changing his life. It was his second time on, and discovering he was pansexual, which is something I didn't really understand until then. And he explained it. I was like, okay, that's new. That's new to me.
Yeah.
Outside of Dan Levy's character on Schitt's Creek is the first time I heard that term, and I didn't research it at all until your show and when your guest explained it. Or, you've had relatives on who talked. One who had a show for a while.
Oh yeah.
Carlos, and we irritate each other on Facebook with gun stuff, but we're good. We just irritate each other sometimes.
One day you'll get to meet him in person.
Yeah, I know, and that should be funny. But either way.
But and adding to that, I don't think I told you this before I went, but at the Healthy Voices conference, which I went this weekend, I had a session, and I did a podcasting session.
Nice.
Yeah. I was waiting to have this recording to tell you, but because for those of you that, I haven't really talked about it much, but Healthy Voices is, a yearly conference that's put together by Janssen Pharmaceuticals. So they take care of us with everything, but they fly in advocates from around the world who are making a difference in their community, and whatever disability or sickness or whatever it is that they're advocating for. Mine is HIV and AIDS. Last year I was one of 12. This year I was one of 10 HIV advocates, and I was also an advisor to the committee, part of the advisory committee to the conference. So we were telling them kind of what we wanted in the conference. And one of the things that was brought up last year was podcasting and video blogging. So they were looking for an expert, a pro podcaster.
There you go.
To hold the session. And I led it. I was the one. I was the expert. And I was like, did y'all go down the list? Everybody said no. Everybody was busy. But they had 4 other podcasters, that were my panel. So I was the lead, and they sat down and shared their experiences with the table. They each got a table,
Nice.
But it was all my idea. I put it all together. Again, put it together.
There you go.
But everybody at the conference that attended, we had about 50 people that attended our session. That out of 122 wasn't bad. And the consensus around them was that out of all the sessions they went through during the weekend, mine was the best.
Yeah.
They were
Nice.
they were happy with how I structured it and the information that they were getting. Because what we did was they all came in together. We had 4 podcasters, very different styles, very different type of shows. One was live, one was edited, one was sponsored by a company, one was on his own out of his garage.
Yeah.
After they gave their description of what kind of show they had, you as the attendee got to choose what table you went to sit at.
Okay.
So that it best fit your personality and what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So you got a session structured for you. And
Nice.
they were like, this is it. Like, they didn't have to sit through a bunch of general shit that they were never going to use. They got what they wanted for their purpose. And I was kind of voted the best session of the weekend. And for the first time, and I know this is going to sound weird, but for the first time in my adult professional life,
mm-hmm.
I felt like I was on top of my game.
Yeah.
I've done the podcast. I've had mistakes.
Yeah.
I told them about my mistakes. I walked out. They were all happy. In fact, the hour was over and nobody was getting up. They were still talking.
Nice.
And I was like, that's a good session. And I walked out and I was kind of like, yeah, motherfuckers. Like, I got this. Little Mexican right here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Better respect. So I grabbed 2 cookies and a cup of coffee and I went to my room and took a nap. But, it's one of those things where I walked out and I was like, I'm being called an expert. That's pretty kick ass. And it's all thanks. It's all thanks to this. So thank you.
Oh, that's good. I'm happy. I'm happy to be a part of it, and to be middle-aged people and we're finding our way at this point, it's interesting. It's like I said, with El Paso, to sell that last book, not only that, but I sold 3 of my daughter's prints. Like, I was sitting there packing up my stuff. I'm like, I got nothing left. It's a 6-hour drive between El Paso and Phoenix. I could leave now and get home a little earlier, but I'm packing my stuff up and I can feel it because I'm such a fucking sap. I will cry at shit like nobody's business. My daughter makes fun of me. I cry at superhero shit. Like, there was a character that died on The Flash and I'm like, no. And I'm like, how did they do this? I was so angry, but like tears are coming down. She's like, I don't know, Dad. I just don't know. But I'm sitting there in El Paso like, I cannot fucking believe I just did this. And I even had the parenting book, the secondhand boogers. I had not sold a copy of that at a con until El Paso. So it was my first time selling that one. And it's like, I'd figured out the right pitch for it and everything. But I'm like packing my shit going, don't cry. Don't fucking do this right now. I was the Rock and Jumanji right there. Like, don't cry. Don't cry. But yeah, it's good to get that sort of validation in a way. Not that that's necessarily but you are in a way if you want people to be supportive of what you're doing, be it art or activism or anything. So yeah, it's nice that we're hitting that stride and to do it at the same time, we talk about that as well. So, yeah.
And I mean, for lack of better, the whole purpose of Put It Together was to show folks that it doesn't matter how old you are.
Mm-hmm.
We're still on this journey to find our way and to find our place.
Yeah.
That you're never too old to go on a new adventure. And if you're not happy, go.
Yeah.
Make the changes you need. And that was the purpose of Put It Together from the beginning, to kind of show that when I started the show, I was 41 and I had no clue, none, what I was doing with my life, none. And now I'm hitting 18 years AIDS survivor. I'm 2 years cancer free. I'm almost 11 years, clean and sober.
Yeah.
I've been through an ostomy surgery, all these different things. I got a boyfriend along the way.
Yep.
God bless him. He still sticks around. And which is one of the last things that Mr. Moyers and Mr. Harston ever said to me. Like, he's a good guy. You keep him. And I was like,
yeah.
Sure. And, so Deathman Witch, I have to keep him now. It's like,
yep.
Plus I tell them all the time, you're so well trained. Like, no, you know how I like my coffee. Why would I trade you in now? Like,
yeah.
I'm a cancer survivor. I don't have that energy anymore.
Yeah.
I can't do it. But
and a good thing too is something I've learned is to really pay attention for little things you might hear that click. One that hit me recently, I was listening to Louis Anderson on, I think, Nerdist podcast, and that's what it was, because he was talking to Chris, and he's like, you remember this guy or this guy? They're talking about these old comics that they remember but never went anywhere. And Louis Anderson said, he goes, yeah, these guys would go out and they drink or they pick up girls or whatever. And like, just think of how many hours they spent on that, where they could have been working on their comedy, working on their craft and building something, which is where I decided to go. It's like, I saw that, and that's part of what I'm saying. Like, that 5 hours of TV could turn into 3 and you could get stuff done. Or like, dating and that kind of stuff. It's not something I think about. I still do, and it's a little more difficult for me considering everything I've been through, but, and I still go out, but it's not a priority to me. If there's somebody that I like, then I'll go. But I'm not like just trying to hook up or do all that shit. It's just a waste of time to me now. I got Louis Anderson in my head all the time. You could be doing your work and not, that place.
Well,
you could be at home writing your book. Like,
well, I told you that I wanted to go to because I love Apostle. So I told you I wanted to go to Apostle with you next year, and I won't go unless I at least have it finished. If it's not necessarily to sell, at least it's finished. But
once it's done, it's not hard for me to get it all set up and everything. So we can do it. We can do it.
All right, so the month of May should be my time to work on it.
Yeah.
Get it done. It's almost there. And just for the people listening, it's like, what kind of book are you writing, Garza? Well, I'm writing an inspirational book. It's not storybook. It's just, it started off with 365 days of the year. And I started it at the beginning of 17. And then I finished almost. I was like a month short. And so I need to finish the year off and then write little paragraphs for each day.
Yep.
And, but I remember each day and why I wrote what I wrote and what happened in that day. So I guess it is going to be a little bit of a biography kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I just have to, so for those of you out there, if you've been following me on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, you probably saw the 365 days book. And, those are it. I'm just going to put it on a book and tell you why that came up. And,
yeah.
Hopefully that will trigger something and I can finally write my story. I do have a script that I've finished. It just needs some tweaking. That I have a producer who wants to produce it. I have a director who wants to work on it. And that is based a little bit on my life. And
yeah.
So this is the challenge for everybody out there listening. Kick my ass. Remind me that I have shit to do. Because I don't have enough things in my life to keep me busy.
Yeah.
I need more stuff to do. But you know what? Some of us are, and I believe this is everything in life. It's one person drives and the rest fill in the seats.
Yeah.
And I believe that in this lifetime, I am meant to drive and I need to get on it. Just like Mr. Moyers, he finally took the wheel and drove and, but, for those of you out there, I guess my own words of wisdom, because I normally don't get to share my words of wisdom on my other shows. But my words of wisdom, for all of you, and I'm trying not to get all mushy and sentimental, but, cause I always say how gay. I always tell everybody like, oh my God, stop. But I am gay, so I guess I could go that direction.
I think it's allowed.
I think it's okay. But my words of wisdom to you guys listening and or watching this video is life sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Life completely sucks. And not it sucks in it's horrible. It sucks in the way that nothing that you plan will ever work out the way you want it. Something along the way will happen.
Yeah.
And you have one of two choices. You either get knocked down and stay down and just realize what a wuss you are, or you get up and you just keep going and go as far and as fast as you can and see where you get. And I think that I've just mentioned everything that life has thrown my way. And that's just in my adult life. Never mind when I was a kid, everything that I went through.
Yeah.
And I have to admit it to myself. And I think that's the other part of the wisdom part. You have to admit to yourself when you have succeeded and go, I kicked ass. I mean, AIDS could have killed me and I survived. Cancer could have kicked my ass and I survived. I almost died after surgery and I survived.
Mm-hmm.
And all these
addiction
things,
too. I mean, addiction too. All these things we talked about. It's just, even on my end too, the stuff I've been through, stuff you've been through, and we're still doing this.
And I mean, I guess I can speak for both of us. We get up, you dust yourself off the best you can, and you just keep going. You look back and you realize the quicksand you jumped over, and you laugh, and you make a joke out of it, and you keep going. Because if I had, there were a couple of times during cancer that, and I don't think I've shared this story. There was one particular night, and for those of you that remember the videos or go back and watch the videos, it was anal cancer, and there was a lot of complications, and I wore diapers, and there was it was very messy back there, and I had to take showers almost every day, constantly. And on this one particular day, I think I'd taken 5 showers that day. I was tired, I was frustrated, and I was about to go to bed, and Christian goes, "Hun, you need to take another shower." And I was just, "Fuck you! I hate you! Fuck this life!" And I got in the shower and rinsed off, and I was about to go to bed, and I was mentally, physically, spiritually exhausted. Yeah. And I looked at Christian and I said in the most serious tone, but crying, "Take the pillow! Just put it over my face! Just kill me!" And I was serious. And he was like, "I'm not going to do that." I'm like, "Oh, I'll write a note. I'll tell them I told you to do it. Then you won't go to jail." And he was like, "Honey, that's not the way it works." And I'm like, "Kill me." And I was dead serious. And Christian just looked at me and goes, "Shut up and go to bed." No! And I did, and I took a pill and I went to sleep. But then the next day I woke up and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Fuck.
That's it. It's all pushing through those brick walls. Just it sucks, but what else are you gonna do? You have to find a way to get through it. Even use the negative stuff to turn it into something good, like you've done, like I'm trying to do, and
Well, you've definitely pushed through a lot. So
yeah.
All right, so we've gone into overtime, and
that's what we usually do.
Yeah, totally. But again, I want to thank you. I mean, thank you for everything. I'm not going anywhere, so don't worry, people. We still got more to talk about, and we still have more guests to interview. So if you're listening out there and you're like, "I can relate to you guys. I'm a mess." Well, come share your story on my show. How do you put it together? I'd like to hear about it. You can find us at abnormalentertainment.com. You can email me, or you can find me on all of the social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Where can they find you, Mr. Moyers?
I would say go to bunny17media.com for the books. Obviously, Abnormal Entertainment for Cinema Head Cheese and Masterpiece Theater are the 2 shows I'm regularly on. But even Masterpiece, because Dalen's working so hard on stuff, has been a little behind. So Bunny 17 is the best way to do it. And I'll put a promo code on there, just PIT for Put It Together. If anybody orders anything off of their books or ebooks or whatever, you'll get 15% off. So I'll
wow, there you go.
There you go.
That's how we put it together here.
That's right.
I want to also thank, I have several listeners, and I don't want to start throwing out names because I'll definitely forget somebody, but there's several listeners that have been with me from the first episode and have been listening throughout the 6 years. They followed me through the cancer journey and the ostomy journey. And they still send me a message once in a while, especially when I mess up and they're like, that was a boring guest. Don't have him back. I know that in 200, you can't but have a couple of guests that you're like, oh.
Oh, I think I can think of one. And there's something I started doing. I started editing down your responses because it was cracking me up so much. And I will finish that and send it to you. Just a montage of your responses because it was making me laugh so hard. And I'll tell you who it was after we're done. But yes,
I think I remember that one.
I think you warned me actually.
Yeah, it was one of those episodes where I was like, there was nowhere to go with this guest.
Yes.
But I want to hear it now. I'm curious.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've had conversations about drug addiction and alcoholism and sexuality. We've had talks about meditation, and we even had a show about life on other planets or something. I know there was one there somewhere. Or maybe I never posted it. There are a couple of episodes that never made it on the air because there was just no way. Some of them made it. Some of them made it. I mean, for all of you know that the show's an hour. Some of the shows made it to 30 minutes. I was like, well, that's all we got for today.
Yeah.
And they were like, it's an hour? Yeah. Yeah, we've been talking forever.
Yeah. Your 30 minutes and my 30 minutes combined to an hour.
Yeah. But if you want to hear in archives, we still have Spanish shows in the archives, and we have the Vita Positum, which was all about HIV and AIDS on there, and you can still go listen to them. I want to thank all the brothers there at Abnormal Entertainment. We need to have another get together at some point.
Yeah.
All the times when I was very concerned about who was on first, and I would try to get the best story possible. And the show has gone through some evolution over the years. It's definitely changed the way I do. I have my conversations. But for everybody who's been listening, everybody who's new to the show, thank you. It's your comments, it's your listening that keeps me going. To all of the guests that I've had throughout the 6 years, thank you for trusting me with your stories. I know that sometimes you come on the show with one particular idea, and 5 minutes in, I have you going somewhere different.
Yeah.
And we've had some really intimate stories on the show.
Oh, yeah.
And so thank you for trusting me with your story and allowing me to share it with my listeners. And I guess in memory of Mr. Harston, who pissed me off right off from the beginning and challenged me to do. He challenged me and still to this day, he challenges me to do the best I can possibly do. There he is. If you're listening to this on a podcast, you're not seeing the picture, but you can see the picture. And I have some pretty cool pictures of him. We'll put up on Facebook. I still think about him, and I still feel challenged to do the best that I can, because he would expect nothing less. I guess with that, any final words, Mr. Moyers?
I will just say that you should definitely be proud of what you've done here. So I'm proud to have you as a friend. I'm proud to have helped you do this for these past 7 years, almost 6.5.
Yeah.
It's been it's been good. It's been fun. The times we've been able to hang out. I mean, we live in 2 different places, so 2 different cities, but we've had those opportunities, and those have always been fun. And I'm just glad that we've put it together.
Oh, what a way to plug it. So for those of you, and I still want to come to Phoenix to have a Whataburger and to see you, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Me and the Whataburger.
You and the Whataburger, probably at the same time.
Yes.
But I'll only eat the Whataburger, so calm down. And, but so for those of you listening, be on the lookout. I may just make it out there to Phoenix, and we'll be able to record a show there together.
Yeah.
Well, here's to 200 more. Cheers, cheers.
Cheers.
And to see what this next year brings for us. But if nothing else, thank you again, everybody listening. I'd like to thank my producer, Mr. Kevin Moyers. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Everybody go check us out at abnormalentertainment.com. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Check out Little Mexican and all the shows. For more information, just check it in. If you want to be a guest, send me a message on any of those venues. And I'm going to end this show with the theme song again so you guys can hear it. And that will be our theme song from this moment on. Thank you to Ryan Kalama, who helped me put it together. I love you guys. I love you, sir. And this is Daniel Garza saying, hey, put it together.
This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together.
Subscribe to Put It Together on iTunes, Stitcher, and at abnormalentertainment.com/putittogether. Find Put It Together on Facebook and tweet Daniel at Lil Messican, LILMESICAN. And for more podcasts, comics, books, movies, and more, head to abnormalentertainment.com.
You've been listening to the Abnormal Entertainment Network.